Hello there, I wasn't expecting you so soon. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking about tattoo equipment. I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to slip into something a little bit more comfortable. Ah, that's nice. Nothing like a little joint to relax. In case you were wondering what we're smoking on, this is Don Draper from Prime Cannabis, courtesy of Show Grow here in Las Vegas. And just like to take a moment, take out the bud cam, let you guys see what we're smoking on over here. Nice and purple. But anyway, so the first thing I wanted to cover was equipment, and I'm gonna go through a series of what I use. And I'm not saying that this is the best equipment. I'm not saying that this is the equipment that you need to start using. It's just what I use, and I'm gonna tell you why I kind of like it, and the benefits to it, and how it kind of helps me a little bit. This is more just a starting point for you, so you can kind of see where my work is coming from and the tools that I'm using to get it there. Alright, so the first piece of equipment that I'd like to talk about is your machine. And although this is very important, it's not the most important thing, so trying to get too caught up in it. Personally, I like the Cheyenne Hawk pen. I've used Neotats, and I've used, back when I used to use coils, I was using Martinis. I had a Jonesy, but I also ran $5 rotaries that I bought off of eBay, and they worked fine. And tattoos still healed in a week, so it's about the artist and it's about the hand. But according to this machine, it runs between 5 and I want to say 14 volts. It has 3.5 millimeter stroke on it, and it has 4.5 millimeter of protrusion on it. So that's really important, because if you've used different cartridges like the Cheyenne cartridges or T-Tech cartridges, Helio cartridges, you've noticed that if you haven't adjusted the needle length on it, how much needle's coming out, then if you put in a different cartridge, they're going to come out at different lengths. This is really good, because I've had cartridges where some machines just, it didn't give me that space where I needed the needle to be at for me. So this one gives you a lot of room for different length needles. Another awesome thing about it is it hits really fucking hard. So if you're packing with a 25, or you're running a 3-liner, you can move them, and they're all gonna move great. You know, when I first started using this machine, and it's not necessarily with the Cheyenne pen, but with just the stylus style or the pen shape, is that this to me felt like what tattooing should be. I've had this machine for about a year now, and I've only dropped it once, and it just happened in the last week. Some people have said that they've had problems with this machine. Personally, I haven't had any problems with it. You got to remember that these machines are built by hand, so there is going to be human error in that. So, you know, if you bought the warranty or whatever, send it in, and, you know, they should take care of you. Alright, so now that we've talked about our machine, let's go into the next piece down the line, our power supply. The power supply, honestly, very insignificant to tattooing. I mean, it turns the machine on, it speeds it up, it slows it down, but you can use just about any machine. You could use a $10 piece of Chinese takeout, or you can go use the Cheyenne Hawk power supply. You could use any of the critical power supplies, or anything that you want to work in, an Icon, or whatever it is. I like the Critical Atom. That's what I'm using right now. The main reason, it's small, I can travel with it. You don't need a foot switch for it, which you don't for most critical machines. So if you hit it, turns on, turns off. This power supply doesn't have a voltage reading on it, but each voltage number is represented by a color. So as you spin it, it's going to change colors, and you'll just remember by that. If you really know your machine though, you're going to know how your machine's running. You're going to know how your needles are running. You're just going to kind of be able to feel it out, which is how I've done it over the years. Especially if you started out with coil machines, then you're a lot more familiar with your machine than I feel most artists these days are that never really started on coil machines and weren't really that in touch with, you know, listening and feeling and all those kind of little details to tattooing, little details that we're used to kind of looking for and listening for and stuff like that. So like I said, a critical atom, awesome fucking power supply. It's tiny and it kicks ass, and you don't need a foot switch. The critical atom also runs for about 165 bucks, which is pretty fucking awesome for a professional piece of equipment. But like I said, you know, you can run just about anything. But if you're looking for something nice, you're looking for something dependable, critical atom. If you are looking to upgrade though, the new critical atom does have a voltage reading on it. I got this one kind of first when it came out, so should have known that they would have upgraded, but you know, I was kind of in a rush to get something nice, and I was at the Chicago convention, so I made sure I picked it up. All right, so one thing I really want to talk about is my gray wash system, because one, I'm a black and gray artist, and two, got some products to talk about. Empire inks. So this is the gray wash that I've been using for about 3 years now. They were recommended to me by a friend who also does black and gray, and I'm slowly switching over from their gray wash to the white wash. And the reason for that is I like this one. I like using this one a lot more, but I do have a lot of pieces that I currently have on people that I need to finish up in this one first. The main thing that drew me to this product was that the pigments are really fine. So if you've had problems with gray washes and they're just a little too peppery, Empire inks. So different gray wash systems that I've used in the past have been Silverback. I used Silverback for a couple years, and I've used a couple different of their gray washes because they do have a couple different gray wash sets. I've also mixed my own, and I've used Eternal. I've used Eternals. No, actually not Eternals, Intense. It was Intense gray wash. It was the Bob Tyrell one. This one worked the best for me. Another reason why I like these is because with other gray wash systems, I felt like they were missing shades, or sometimes they didn't transition right to me. So this was a really good set. The reason I like the white wash, and if you don't know what the white wash is, it's the gray wash with the white in there. So it smooths out your gray wash, and it also heals up real fucking nice and smooth. So you're really gonna want to use it. The only thing I will say about this, and you have to be on it, is you have to shake these up real good, because the white kind of tends to get stuck on the bottom, and if you don't shake them up well, then what you're doing is you're using up most of the stuff that's in there as a liquid, the solution that's holding everything together, plus the black pigments that are already in there. So your shade isn't going to be as accurate as when you bought it. So make sure you go and you shake those up real nice and in there. Damn it. And this thing is going to work wonders for you. So if you haven't gotten them, get them. I'm also sponsored by them. Tells you how much I love this product. But I was also sponsored by these guys well after I was using them for a while. So this isn't just a, hey, go and buy these. This is a, hey, go buy these. These are fucking awesome, because they are. All right, let's go fucking get them. All right, so we're gonna change it up a little bit on the brand. For my solid black, I do prefer Dynamic, however, because no offense to the Empire black, but it's just a little bit too thick. If you've ever used the Eternal black, or if you've used like the Eternal Big Me's Lining black, then you'll kind of have an idea of how this is. It's super solid, don't get me wrong, it's a great product. It's just too thick for my liking. when I tattoo, I kind of like the skin to be real clean, and when I use this, I kind of wipe too much because I'm focusing on cleaning, that I start wiping away the stencil. Previous blacks that I've used were One Lining Black, Prime Pigments Black Line, and Super Black. All great products. And the one thing that they had in common was that they cleaned up real nice and that they were solid. One thing that turned me off with Dynamic was, of course, the label. I hear that from a lot of people though, and once you can get past that and you can use the product, you're gonna fall in love with it because it's super dark and it cleans up real nice. And you can also cut it down and use it as a gray wash too. So if you don't want to go and carry around a gray wash set, or if you don't want to use one and you just kind of want to keep one bottle around, then you know, I'd probably have to go with Dynamic. Dynamic's really good, and it's everywhere. That's another thing too. Is this is a really common ink. A lot of fucking awesome people are using it, and for 8-ounce bottle, it's gonna go around like 20, 22 bucks. You also can get a smaller one. I think it's like a 4-ounce bottle. It's gonna run you a little less. I really don't know how much they are. I've only bought 8-ounce bottles, so yeah, go pick one up. Give it a shot. All right. So what the Empire Black doesn't do for me, Empire White comes in here and fucking kicks some ass. Let me tell you something right now. I don't know what white you use, but whatever it is, throw that shit in the trash right now because it's probably fucking garbage. This white is unrivaled by any other white that I've ever fucking used. I've used the Star Bright white, I've used Fusion, I've used Eternal, I've used the Silverback, I've used the Silverback white too. But this white right here goes in smoother than any white I've ever seen. And you can pack it, and it heals phenomenal. And that was my biggest thing too, is because you get a white in there and it gets a little too creamy. You know, you kind of know what I mean when I say creamy. You know, if you really want to come in there and, you know, throw in the bells and the whistles, then the bells and the whistles. So pick it up, check it out, try it out, love it. All right, now on to the most, if not one of the two most important parts of tattooing, because I'd probably consider ink up there, needles. My favorite needles, the Cheyenne Hawk cartridges, the original safety cartridge, made for professionals in Germany. So you know it's good. A couple other brands that I've used. I used to use Helios. I briefly tried out Peak cartridges. I used to use T-Tech. Another brand that I'm really fond of is the Eazy cartridge. As far as Cheyenne, what I really like to use for Cheyenne, and I use for most tattoos, is the 5-round liner. I use a 9 soft edge, which is basically a 9 curved, and I use a 13 soft edge, also curved mag. So those are what I'm using for those ones. The Eazy cartridges I also use. I prefer a 7-round shader, which is really good for putting white in. I'm just gonna say, if you're paying attention to the Empire White part, you'd be real smart if you picked up that, and then you get the Eazy cartridge 7-round shaders, and those things are gonna work for a charm. I'm just saying, I don't know if you've ever tried it. Put in white with a 7-round shader. It's gonna change your game, I'm telling you. I also like to use their 14-round shaders. I use 14-round shader like if I'm doing really big, bold lettering, you know, like if you're really trying to do some dope-ass Old English or something like that, you know, then I'd probably get down with the 14-round shader. But those two needles, I don't know what it is. I really found that with the Eazy cartridges, it was just better to stick with that brand than to go with the Cheyenne. I don't know what it was, but they just kind of, you know, they didn't really cut it. I don't know. Didn't do it for me. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes you got to mix and match your brands, because there's going to be a time when, you know, you're going to try a needle and they might make a good product over here, but you know, maybe they don't do as well over here with their liners, you know. And a lot of people are really picky, and that's a good thing. You should be picky, you know. These are your tools. This is what you're sitting there doing your work with, and you want to make sure that the products you're using not only are quality, but they're making your game efficient, you know, and you're working very, very efficiently and effectively. So the reason I really like the Cheyenne cartridges is because it's a solid cartridge, man, and it's compatible with the machine that I have, which is good too. And I know that, you know, other needles are, you know, compatible with each other, but these are what are made for. And I've had other cartridges too, like some of the Peak ones didn't fit in my machine right, and there's also been a couple T-Tech ones, that were just a little too snug, and I was having troubles with them. And you really don't want to be cranking on your equipment. You don't want to be getting the plastics from the cartridge, you know, the dust inside your machine, because, you know, sometimes it can be really hard to clean inside those. They're solid, you know, they make really good sharp needles, and they last long time through a session. I'm not saying reuse them, but, you know, if you're gonna be working on a 6-hour tattoo, then these are really good for them. And most of them, they're really precise. You know, when you're using these needles and that machine, you can really feel the precision when you sit there and you run that machine and you look at it. The only other needle other than Cheyenne that I really liked were the Helios. The Helios were they were really nice, but these just, I don't know. You know, you use a needle and it runs really well, or it kind of feels a little janky. And when I run this machine, this thing tells me that, like, we're running in a Ferrari and we're not running in an old Honda Civic. You know, I said I use, you know, a certain grouping of needles through most of my tattoos, and there's a reason why. And, you know, each needle kind of has a job, and each needle does something different that makes it kind of special. And the 5-liner I use mostly for, you know, kind of getting in there with realism, you know, because you don't want thick lines in your stuff. So 5's kind of nice for sharpening up stuff around, you know, eyes and, you know, little things like that. Now, with shaders are pretty interesting, because my 9 mag I use for smaller kind of pack in and kind of getting in areas and stuff like that. My 13 mag and my 15 mags I'm using for more kind of brushing motions, for more just kind of dusting in things. Dusting's not even the right word. I didn't know I fucking said dusting. But kind of just feathering in things. And the reason that those two needle groupings are really good for that is because when you're using a 13 or you're using a 15 or a bigger grouping, those bigger groupings are going to have more play in their needle. So it's not as easy to pack something with a 13 or a 15 as it is with a 9 or a 7. So keep that in mind when you're using different groupings, because you may have to run them at different voltages. You're not going to run those two needle groupings at the same job if you were to, say, pack. You know, if I were to pack, I'm not going to run my 9 the same as my 15. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you really want to get some smooth shades, then you're going to want to kick it up to a 13 or a 15. Also, those are really good needle groupings if you're doing bigger areas like on cheekbones and stuff like that. Keep in mind that these are brushes. You wouldn't use a tiny little paintbrush to go and, you know, paint a wall. So you want to use the appropriate size, you know, for the appropriate tattoo. You know, don't be lazy. Make sure you're not going and pulling out a 15 mag to do some little tattoo, because that's the only, you know, needle you have. Stay stocked on this stuff. Get familiar with this stuff and make sure that you have a system, and make sure that you have consistency, because overall that's how you're going to make sure that all your tattoos are going to look like your tattoos, you know, and that your work is going to be going up and not, you know, not going down. So make sure that you have certain needles for different jobs, and that you know that. Be conscious of what you're doing and try out different things, and, you know, ask a friend, you know, ask a different tattoo artist, see what he thinks about the needles that he uses, and ask him why he uses them. I think now would be the perfect time for, I don't know, a little dab break. So I think we'll just begin by setting the mood. Now we have here, this is Vanilla Sky, courtesy of Vader Extracts. Pick this up at local dispensary, Show Grow. think we'll pull out the bud cam so everyone at home can check this out. All you millions of viewers at home can check out this. Now this is a crumble indica dominant hybrid. Now the reason I like dabbing is because it's kind of a little heavier of a hit. Other than just enjoying it, I use it for back pain. Played sports as a kid, and on top of that, tattooing has definitely taken its toll. So we're just gonna heat this up, bring it to temperature. Now, if you're not used to dabbing, I probably wouldn't dab and work. I'm very used to it. Been dabbing since I've been tattooing, or smoking since I've been tattooing, so I'm very used to the effects. It helps me kind of get lost in my work a bit, which is very nice. I prefer indica, as in indicouch. Sativas would be a little bit more of an uppy. I don't like that. I tend to get a little panicky. It's harder for me to concentrate during my work. Alright, here we go. Terpenes in that are delicious. Let's get back on track. All right, so we talked about our needles, and we talked about our machines, and we even did a dab, and we talked about our ink. Let's talk about our glide next. More importantly, why do we use this product? We use this product because it creates a layer between the skin and the ink, so you're going to be cleaning up a lot nicer. On top of that, you're protecting your stencil, you're protecting the skin from getting caked on ink. It's lubing up the needle, and we're providing certain vitamins to the skin that are gonna help heal the skin as we're working in a way. So I'd hope that no one's using Vaseline. I hope no one's using Vaseline anymore. This is not the fucking 90s. No more Vaseline. A&D is not bad. There's a lot of nice products out. But the reason that this one caught my eye was its consistency. It's a lot different than anything else that I've used. It's really hard to cake this on, I'll put it that way. It's pretty thin. So a little goes a long way. I'm just going to say that before I start. So you put a little bit on the skin, and it almost creates like a nice glassy area on top of the skin. If you look at the stencil, it's fucking perfect, man. It's just nice. This is a great product for staying precise. Being able to see where your stencil is and be able to color up to those lines, and make sure that your skin's nice to work on. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a clean canvas when you're working. I see guys that don't like to clean their stencil off or clean their skin off a lot when they're shading and packing and shit like that. And those are the guys that their blacks don't heal up as dark, and their colors don't heal up as bright, and their lines aren't as crispy, and that's because they can't see. You're essentially working in the dark. So just make sure you really clean your skin. Clean up after yourself. Don't be messy. You don't want to be a messy guy. You don't want to have messy habits. So yeah, definitely try to get a sample. Try to get something of this, because this is really something that I hate tattooing without. I'll put it that way. I really like having this product, and I try to do as much as I can to make sure that I have it available to me. I do travel a lot, so I try to keep a smaller bottle that I can fly with. But if you can get one of these, it goes a long, long way. One of these is gonna last tens and tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of tattoos. So if you can get it, get your hands on it. Another good thing about Aquatap is it's great for healing too. So if you're keeping it around the shop, you know, you can go and you can give it to clients. I'm not saying a big one like this, but they do have smaller ones too. You know, pick it up at a convention. You can almost get it from anywhere. You can buy it in bulk if you're a shop owner. Um, get a wholesale account or whatever you can do um, to try it out or to sell it. Even sell it in your shop. Be a retailer. All right, so while we're on the topic of H2 Ocean, another product that I'd like to introduce is blue-green film soap from H2 Ocean. Not as important, but the reason it's cool is because um, if you don't feel like carrying around green soap, this is a cool little one. I just kind of use it after I've done outlining or done mapping in, and I'm ready to wash, do a good wash, and get going, or end of the tattoo, clean it, take your photo. But yeah, like I said, I don't like to use green soap. It's just got a little bit too much alcohol in it, so it kind of gets the skin a little red. This is a lot nicer on the skin that I find, and like I said, it's travel size, so it's great for me because less I can pack in my bag of tattoo shit, more t-shirts and clean underwear I can put in there, which you can never have too much. So yeah, I don't know. It's a cool little one. Recommend it, but not as important. If you use green soap, whatever, is what it is. Honestly, if you don't even use green soap, you just use a little soap and water in your water bottle, then that works too. So, H2 Ocean, blue-green foam soap. All right, so one of the last few things that I guess we could talk about is your water bottle. So, with my water bottle, what I like to use in it is witch hazel and gold dial. Now, both these products you can go and you can get at Family Dollar or wherever. Now, the reason I kind of do it like this is because gold dial it's a lot easier on the skin than green soap, first and foremost. Second off, it's cheap, it's everywhere, and it's really good for healing and what's it called, aftercare. So it's really easy to sit there and tell your client, hey, go grab this. They probably got it in their home. If not, they know what it is. Witch hazel is cool because this is going to bring down the redness in their tattoo. It does have a little alcohol in it, but the witch hazel kind of counteracts it a little bit. So it's nice having the water while you're tattooing. You know, it's really taking care of the skin. It's good stuff. Typically, how I like to do it is I'll put just enough dial in the bottom of it just to cover the bottom. I fill in about the top, leaving half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch open after putting in distilled water, and then I top it off with the witch hazel. Shake it around, and it's good to go after that. So this is cool because it's soapy enough to clean up while you're tattooing, but it's not soapy enough to where you're going to be wiping away your stencil and you know, just kind of doing more harm than good. So that's my mixture. There are other ways, but this is just the way that I've kind of found to find most pleasing over the years. So, all right, and then lastly, what I like to use is a clipcord sleeve, a little Scentsy wrap, and stencil stuff. Now my stencil stuff is a little green because I put green dye in it because I was tired of it looking like fucking jizz and freaking out my clients. Typically when I shave my clients, I like to shave them down with alcohol. Now what that does is it wets the hair down enough to where you can shave it off, but it also dries really quick so you can clean it off. You know, most of you probably used the distilled water or the green soap, and you've noticed that the hair kind of gets stuck on there and it's not as easy to brush off. Well, this is going to make it really easy to brush off or give it a little blow, or, you know, whatever you need to do. Now when I put the stencil stuff on, I really like to clean the skin down with alcohol. So by shaving like that, you're ultimately preparing for the next step. Now with your stencil stuff, you really want to rub it in. You want to rub it in like a lotion, and get your stencil on there, pat it. Once you get it on there, kind of wait till the stencil turns white. If you get your stencil turn white, like a nice cloudy white. It's perfect. It's ready to come off. Especially if you start peeling off and you got to pick at it and shit like that. Those are the best stencils. So if you're doing it like that, you're doing great. Keep going. Um, it's just nice to keep good products around. Your clients are gonna see these. Your other employees are gonna see these. People at other shops are gonna see these. And it lets people know that, hey, I'm at this level, and I'm investing in myself, and I'm investing in my business, and you want people to notice that, because things like that are going to define you know your hourly rate or what you're asking for. You gotta tell people, my hourly rate is this because I'm using the best equipment, I'm using the best needles on you, I'm using the best you know glide, or this and that. You gotta tell people what they're paying for, or else you're just sitting there begging for money, basically. So, understand your materials and try to find a way to where you can convey to your client, how important these things are and how important it is to them and their tattoo. Because their tattoos are healing quicker and they're healing better, and their colors are more vibrant, and you're not gonna have to do touch-ups. It happens sometimes. You gotta touch up a tattoo. Don't let it hit your ego. Don't fucking get in your chest about doing a touch-up. Shit happens. So don't be afraid to invest a couple extra bucks, because in reality these tattoos, they don't cost us much to do. We're just, you know, charging them for labor. And let's be honest, when it comes down to buying materials, what's a couple extra pennies for a needle, or a nicer machine, or something like that. So just keep these things in mind. There's not one right way to tattoo, but there's a lot of wrong ways to tattoo. So first things first, let's make sure we get our equipment right, and get things straight. One last thing that I want to say, just to kind of end this out, is although we went over all these great products and these machines and these needles and things like that, I don't want you to get too caught up with them. This is just kind of what I use, and it's just kind of a reference point, so you can see what I'm using and how I'm getting these results, and some of the products that I use reflect the results. um, so try different things, talk to different artists, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Well, that's it for today's show. I really hope that maybe someone out there was able to learn something. But like I said, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to comment. Let me know what you guys want to learn. We can make this whatever we want. So